You all welcome back to African Colonization TV and Biafran History. So in today's video, we'll go into the issues surrounding the Sharia and the crisis concerning what is going on in Nigeria. Mostly this issue of Sharia, the way everything is happening in Nigeria now, it has now come to a limelight that everything concerning Nigeria is built up with Sharia. So as it is, the Northern Elders, now they are now sending letter to Donald Trump to appeal to him, and they tell him that they cannot remove Sharia. So according to the heading, it says US versus Nigeria. Northern Elders beg for separation as Tinubu faces global pressure over Sharia law in Nigeria, and the letter sent to Trump concerning where they belong on Nigerian issue by the Northern Elders. So the Northern Elders sent a letter to Donald Trump concerning their stance on this issue of Sharia and what they are ready to face concerning the Sharia. And as it is, already they have been saying that they cannot remove Sharia, and instead of them to remove Sharia, they are ready to divide the country. They are ready to go. And as it is, everybody have now seen that they are not even ready to remove it. Now they have now sent a letter to Donald Trump. Inside this video, you are going to see it and you are going to read it. Then this our different activist is going to explain everything concerning what is happening in the North and the issue concerning the letter they sent to Donald Trump, and also the constitution of Nigeria, because everything rhymes in the constitution. Everything you are seeing today in Nigeria goes down to the constitution of Nigeria, because they are now saying that everything that you are seeing that they are using to judge someone, and be you small courts or high courts. So the case or the file or the document they use to judge people there is known as, some of them is being written under Sharia law. And this has been a problem. This is the main issue Nigeria is facing on. So don't skip any part of it. As you're about to watch, like, subscribe, and make sure you share it to go and let others see the thing that is happening in Nigeria and what Nigeria is facing. That is why those bandits, they are doing everything they are doing without anybody talking to them or without them facing the law. You never see anyone face the law or face the judgment. Instead of it, after some days, they will release them and they will go and they will grant them amnesty, claim that government have forgiven them because what they use to judge them is under the Sharia constitution. So according to them, they have not committed any crime. So in fact, a lot is happening.
As I speak to you right now, the Northern Elders has sent a very strong and interesting letter to the US Congress over the issue of Sharia in Nigeria. Please, I beg you to listen to this news because Kasara is about to burst. You know, whenever I tell you that a letter is strong and interesting, trust me, you know what I mean. And that is exactly the kind of letter that the Northern Elders has sent to US Congress. Now, before we get down into this news, I want to shock you. Ask me how. Okay, just spend 20 seconds and listen to this video. I want to play for you now. Just 20 seconds, please.
Our constitution is not secular. Our constitution is a Sharia constitution. And that is where we have problems today, including the insurgency in the name of Sharia.
Keep listening, please.
The 1999 constitution is a Sharia constitution. Because I mentioned in one interview, there are up to 73 mentions of Sharia in that constitution. About 28 mentions of Islam in that constitution. About 10 mentions of Muslim in that constitution. There is no mention of Christian or Christianity in that constitution. That means these Christians don't exist in this country. That is the truth. We cannot shy away from it. And the National Assembly members know this. But the problem with this country is that we have cowards in position of power who, even when they know the truth, are unable to speak out and say, gentlemen, this doesn't suit the so-called secularity of the constitution. Sharia, whether we like it or not, that's what will continue to happen unless it is crushed. Negotiation will not work.
Did you hear that? That Nigerian constitution is not a secular constitution. What does that mean? It simply means that Nigerian constitution does not bond the whole country, that it bonds some people and segregates some people. Oh yes. And the second part he said, which is the most interesting one, he said that Nigerian constitution is a Sharia constitution. No be me talk am. I hope you guys had it. You know what? Maybe I will get you the full details of this video in one of my next video. Oh yes, so that you understand what we are talking about. Because sometimes when we say this, some of you think, you know, I talk about Nigeria out of hatred or whatever. No, but it is a reality. I'll get you the full video of that, interview. Please do well to subscribe. Now, to the news that Northern Elders has sent a very strong, letter to the US Congress. Let us go down to this letter and see what they are saying. Please, I beg you to stay with me in this video. Now, the letter says, let me zoom in so you can see it. It says, okay, Northern Nigerian leaders, along with various Islamic groups and officials, have strongly rejected calls to abolish Sharia law in the region, warning that such actions could threaten the unity of Nigeria. Warning that such actions could threaten the unity of Nigeria. This is same people that said that Nigerian unity is sacrosanct. Today, they are telling us that if they try to abolish, Sharia, that Nigerians' unity will be threatened. Now, I ask, so there could be anything that could threaten the unity of Nigeria? There could be anything. So at this point, Nigerians' unity is no longer sacrosanct. Holy Jesus, what a country. Now, let us go further. It says, recent intensified discussions regarding the removal of Sharia, often prompted by international and southern Nigerian pressures, have been met with staunch resistance. Key point includes, let's look at the key points they mentioned. Please stay with me. It's just a few seconds reading, all right? It says, the first one, sovereignty and constitutional right. Sovereignty and constitutional right. Leaders argued that Sharia law is a constitutional right permitted under Nigeria's federal system, and they reject external interference, particularly calls from US lawmakers to repeal it. So they are saying that, come on, the practice of Sharia in Nigeria is their constitutional right. And this only proves that man right, that Nigerian constitution is a Sharia constitution. Only this, they have said it, that Sharia is, in Nigerian constitution, it is their right. And so they have the right to practice it. So whoever that is telling them not to practice Sharia is going against the law. Second point they made is this, non-negotiable issue. Northern groups emphasized that Sharia is deeply rooted in the cultural and religious life of the region's Muslim majority, making it non-negotiable. Making it non-negotiable. It cannot be negotiated that they must practice their Sharia, that it is rooted in their culture and in their religious life. Non-negotiable. Okay, at this point, it is Sharia that is non-negotiable. It is Sharia that is sacrosanct. It is no longer the unity of Nigeria. All right. The third one, they said, is threat to national unity. Critics of abolishing Sharia warn that pushing for its removal could lead to the breakup of the country, with some stating that the North could prefer separation to the banning of Sharia, that they would prefer for Nigeria to separate, for Nigeria to break up, instead of stop the practice of Sharia. Did you get that? So you understand what we are talking about. Now, lastly, it says, let me zoom it. Lastly, it says, response to international pressure. Following recommendations from a US congressional panel to repeal Sharia and blasphemy laws, Nigerian Islamic leaders labeled the move as arrogancy and new colonialism, vowing that no intimidation would end the practice. It is what? They said that it is out of arrogancy that made the US congressional panel to call for the removal of Sharia. Ha! What a country. You know, sometimes I listen to all this news and I sit down, I ask myself, does it mean that we don't have people who reason at all in this country? Does it mean that we don't have people who still have the conscience of God to come and speak out? Does it mean that we don't have people who are educated enough or bold enough to come out and, talk about all this? Holy Jesus. Anyway, I'm just the analytic guy. Don't blame me. All right. Lastly, it says, while some southern leaders and human rights groups argued that Sharia criminal laws undermines national security and individual rights, northern stakeholders maintain that the system is essential for justice and religious practice. They maintain that the system is essential for justice. Well, this is where it ends. But then, I will still allow you now to listen to the video a northern elder made on national television, where he spoke about all this. And he said that, come on, they are not going back, that no removal of Sharia in Nigeria. Remember that the US Congress has said that, for Nigeria to remain one, for all these, killings to stop in Nigeria, that they must remove Sharia law. Now, my question is this. At this point that they have firmly confirmed and stand that no removal of Sharia, what do you think that the US Congress will do? What would they do? Okay, they will say, no problem, practice your faith, but just stop the killing. Is that what they're going to say? Well, drop your comment in the comment section. But then, I will beg you to spend just a little time and listen to what their members said. And then you understand what we are saying. Please do well to subscribe to this channel if this is your first time, all right? Because we got a lot of information to share with you. Please listen to him.
On the program by Professor Dahiru Usman, Islamic law expert, Bayero University, Kano, joining us from our Kano studio. Welcome to the program, Prof. Let's get right into it. We see what is playing out. Iran, Israel, America on that side. And it's looking more of a religious thing now with some of the pronouncements right now. We understand that there's been some sort of order now given to some Muslims in that area that now is the time for you to defend yourself. So while that is playing out, we also have our own fair share of issues with the United States as well. The US Congress recommending, that Sharia law be removed from our laws in a manner of speaking. I've heard people say they never got to debate Sharia law before it was put into the Constitution, that you just had President Olusegun Obasanjo signing that Constitution, which he had not seen before, and it has become a law. And a lot of people fear that if Nigeria keeps towing down this path, then we might have bigger trouble on our hands. I wonder how you weigh in on this, seeing what is also playing out between Iran, Israel, the US, but more importantly, our own bit of the story with Sharia law. I really hope Prof can hear me and it's not a delay that is taking too long. But it's important to speak to these issues and get the perspectives now of those who are concerned. So Prof, I really hope that we get the audio bit sorted so you can hear us properly and give us your perspective. But yes, the US Congress has given a recommendation, submitted it to the White House, a two-page document, spoke to a number of things, partnering with Nigeria and all of that. But one of the bits in the recommendation is about Sharia law. law, and it's important to feel the pulse of leaders, even legal experts, religious leaders, those in government in northern states that operate Sharia law, to understand your thinking of this one. So, Prof, please confirm you can hear me, or you got my question.
I can hear you.
Okay, please go ahead then.
Well, thank you for having me on the studio. And the takeoff point is to acknowledge the fact that the right to religion is a fundamental human right that has been acknowledged, recognized, and sanctioned by international human rights instruments. Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Prof.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The takeoff point, like I said, is to acknowledge and recognize the fact that the right to religion is a fundamental human right that has been recognized, sanctioned by all international human rights instruments, regional instruments, and domestic constitutions. The Sharia implementation in Nigeria did not start with the 1999 constitution. Even as far back as 1802, and as documented by scholars on Orientalists and writers on African customary systems, they have acknowledged the fact that Sharia law has been in existence. In fact, outside the Arabian Peninsula, nowhere was the Sharia applied, including the criminal law of capital offenses like it is applicable in northern Nigeria. Now, the issue of the United States demand for the proscription of Sharia, I think it is a very serious fundamental human rights concern to the Muslims of northern Nigeria or Nigeria in general, because the rights of every human being to religion, like I said, is sanctioned, and the Muslims are not an exception. And in fact, that would in a way interfere with the domestic affairs in Nigeria of regulating religious rights. And even the United States, there are quite a number of Muslims, and that the statistics are showing that one of the fastest growing religion is the religion of Islam, and the United States is very well known of religious freedom. So it is surprising that the United States will be demanding that people who have a belief, people who have a constitutional and fundamental human rights to be guided and to be regulated by their religious laws would have far away United States coming to dictate that people would have to jettison their constitutional right, their fundamental human rights to religion. I think that demand would never be practicable. As far as the Muslims are alive, as far as Nigerian Muslims are alive, the issue of their right to religion is non-negotiable and cannot be taken away by any system. For even the colonial masters, when they came, they tried hard to take away the Sharia, but they could not do that. So I think it is, in a way, I may say, laughable that the United States would think that the Muslims would drop their religious right over and above the demand of the United States.
All right, Prof, let's look at it two ways. Section 10 talks about the fact that the country is not, it's a secular state by essence. So no states, the federation cannot adopt a religion. I want you to speak to that, whether this is not a contradiction. I know that section 275 up to section 279 talks about the Sharia court and all of that. So I want you to help us understand whether it's not a contradiction that in one breath the Constitution says no state or the Federation shall adopt any state religion, yet we're seeing Sharia in our Constitution. That's one question. The second question has to do with the latitude of the Sharia law itself. Now, if the argument is, let's use an example, the Deborah case in Sokoto. What was the issue? They were in a WhatsApp group, and then she made some statement that persons within the Muslim community were not comfortable with, and they considered it blasphemy, and she was killed. And the case was an embarrassment, literally, because of how it was prosecuted. I think that case was left off because of lack of diligent prosecution, because of what was even filed in the first place. People expected murder and all those kind of charges to be filed, but all kinds of things were filed, and it was a bit of an embarrassment. So the second question is the latitude. Should Sharia law have applied to somebody like Deborah, who is not a Muslim?
Well, I cannot hear you.
Should I repeat the question?
I lost. You repeat the question because I didn't get the last part.
The first question was Section 10. Talks about the federation or any state will not adopt.
That is well taken.
Okay.
Yes.
The second one was the latitude of the implementation of the Sharia law itself. And I gave an example of Deborah that was killed because of blasphemy. She's a Christian. The Muslim guys in our WhatsApp group were not comfortable with what she said and they considered it a blasphemy and they killed her. We can talk about the court case another day. But what I'm saying, should Sharia law have applied to Deborah in this instance? Because the argument is, for some people, it's not the existence of Sharia law, it's the latitude of Sharia law beyond Muslims.
Okay. I lost the audience. I can't hear you.
Prof, go ahead and answer the one you heard first. Answer the one you heard.
Okay, you see, the issue of Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution, I think around 1999-2000, there were a lot of debate when Zamfara State started the re-implementation of the Sharia. Now, you see, the issue of Section 10. Section 10 should not be read in isolation to other provisions of the Constitution. Section 10, quite all right, stated in the substantive provision that that Nigeria, no state or the federation should adopt any religion as a state religion. But that does not mean the argument, my view, and many others hold the view that Nigeria is not a secular country. Now, the takeoff point in arguing this is, what is a secular state, and what is when can a state be said to be secular? The ordinary meaning, English meaning of secularism is to be indifferent to religion, indifferent to godly things, and no one can say that Nigeria is not a godly country, because beginning from the preamble of the Constitution, we resolved, as per the preamble of the Constitution, to live as one sovereign country under God. And then the Constitution, like all international human rights instruments under Section 38, sanction the right to religion, thought and conscience. You have the right to practice your religion either in public or private. And then going down, like you rightly said, there are religious institutions that have been established by the Constitution, like the Sharia Court of Appeal, like the other aspect of the religion that is in the Constitution. And we know that the practice and the tradition in Nigeria is that the federal government, the state governments do also sponsor religious pilgrimage, which is a religious thing, which is an indication that that there is a religion, that the government recognizes a religion. And then it is obvious and it is known that any political office holder is asked to swear by the scripture he believes when he's taken out of office and out of allegiance. We have religious holidays that have been observed in Nigeria, and a host of other things that really will tell you that those who argue that Nigeria is secular do not really understand the meaning of being secular. For to be secular is to be all religious, is to have no business with God or any religious affair. And no one can tell me that Nigeria and Nigerians are secular people who have no business with religion. And there are so many other, even the common law as we apply it is also not a secular law. It is a religious law because it traces its origin from a religion. The authorities are clear. In the United Kingdom in 1962, in the appeal cases, there is a Bowman against secular state, where the origin and the connection of the common law, which is largely applicable law in Nigeria based on our common law orientation, is also a religious law. So my argument and my take from the prescriptions and the provisions in the Constitution, it is wrong to call Nigeria a secular state just by looking at the marginal note of Section 10. You know, the content, the substantive provision are that no state or federal government should today wake up and say that the only applicable law is, for example, Sharia law or a Christian law. No state or federal government can do that. That is the intendment of Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution. The marginal note that said secular, I think does not, because throughout the reading of the 1999 Constitution, you would never find anywhere where Nigeria is called or declared to be a secular state. And for you to call a country a secular country, there must be a particular declaration in the Constitution to say that this is a secular country. country. And for countries that have declared to be Islamic states, it is obvious you find provisions in their own constitution that clearly declare the state to be an Islamic state or a Sharia state. So the implementation of Sharia in Nigeria is not in any way an unconstitutional act. Yes.
Yes. Your debate about the secularist outlook of Nigeria, could be challenged if we looked at the context to which secularism means now, not subject to or bound by religious rule, not subject to or bound by religious rule. Now, if you consider that Nigeria is a heterogeneous country, I believe the question is to the effect that should other populations who do not derive their faith from Islam, as others in the north do, be subject to Sharia law? And northern Nigeria is as heterogeneous as other parts of Nigeria. I believe that's the question, and specifically in relation to Deborah. So should Sharia law have applied to her? I believe that is the context of the question that you should be addressing.
Well, there are two questions. I'm getting to the case of Deborah. The first question is whether, in the light of Section 10, Sharia implementing states are violating the secular nature of Nigeria. That is the first premise, and that was the first question. Now, to the question with respect to the extent of the application of Sharia law, I think there is a lot of misinformation and ignorance of the existing Sharia criminal framework in the states that are implementing Sharia. There are provisos specifically provided that Sharia law is only to apply to those who profess the Islamic faith. It is only where a non-Muslim has given his written consent to be bound by the Sharia penal code that he is to be tried in accordance with Sharia penal code. And the case of Deborah was never tried in accordance with the Sharia penal code of Sokoto state. The way it operates is that from 2000 to date, in the state that are implementing Sharia, there are two criminal codes. There is the penal code laws of northern Nigeria, which has been domesticated by the states, and that applies to those who are not Muslims. And then there is the Sharia penal code that applies only to the Muslims who profess the Islamic faith. No state, in the light of the provisions of Section 38 of the Constitution, is or can subject a non-Muslim to the application and the dictates of the Sharia penal code. So there is a lot of misinformation about how the Sharia codes are applicable in northern Nigeria. You can check the Sharia penal codes did not in Zamfara state, in Kano state, and the other states that are implementing Sharia did not mandate and make the Sharia codes applicable to all that are resident in the states. So it is wrong for anyone to say that the Sharia penal codes, the Sharia laws are applicable to non-Muslims. And in specific reply to the issue of Deborah, I think the Northern Nigerian Penal Code proscribes and punishes blasphemy. And blasphemy, even under the penal code laws of northern Nigeria, and not to talk of even the Sharia penal code, it is a law that is not to be applied by any Tom and Harry, but it has to be in accordance with criminal trials. The Sharia does not allow jungle justice. Sharia does not condone people taking laws into their hands. And I have examples to give. In the nearby state of Kebbi State, sometimes in 2000, I've forgotten the date, but the law report is there. The case of Inshallah against the state. This is even a Muslim that blasphemed our noble prophet, and then he was extrajudicially killed by some Muslims. They were tried, they were convicted, they appealed up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court confirmed their conviction and sentence to death for killing the person that they claim blasphemed.
So
we should understand that Deborah was never tried in accordance with Sharia code, and Sharia in northern Nigeria is not applicable on all, but only those who profess the Islamic faith and who are not Muslims but have submitted their voluntary written consent.
All right, Prof. So maybe we'll allow you to grab some water, but as we wind down, what you're saying in essence is that the Sharia law actually makes provisions for people who commit murder, and in the case of those who killed Deborah, Sharia law prescribes that they should be killed as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if they are, I've given you an example. The case of Inshallah and State, is even a Muslim that blasphemed the noble prophet.
I understand. So I'm saying for those who killed Deborah, they should also be killed under Sharia law, right?
Yes, if they are tried and found guilty, the law would take its course.
Do you think they should be tried?
Prof,
do you think they should be tried?
Of course, our criminal law does not give everybody the license, even if a crime is committed, to take the laws into their hands. That is why the criminal justice is there, and even the Sharia, no offense, even outside blasphemy, no offense is given. People are given a blank check to try people and then extrajudicially kill them.
So why were they not tried? Why were they then defended in court instead? Because they weren't tried under Sharia law for the killings, were they? For the killing of Deborah, were they?
Were not defended? What do you mean by the were?
So what happened was the case was taken to court, and those who killed Deborah were defended in court instead of being tried under the Sharia law for killing Deborah, if you understand what I mean.
You see, the issue of trial and defense is a matter of the legal profession and the legal practice. In fact, under our laws, no one can be tried for capital offense without legal representation. It happened in Kano, the case of Abdul Jabbar, the case of Abul Inyas. There are also cases of blasphemy. They were defended. They were provided lawyers by the Ministry of Justice, and at times they were provided lawyers by the legal aid. So there are so many criminal cases that are going on.
What I'm saying is they were tried under Nigeria's law, but they weren't tried under Sharia law for killing someone. Is what I'm. Do you have evidence against that? Were they tried under Sharia law?
Well, you see, if you kill, like I gave you example, the case of Inshallah, and the issue of trial under whatever law is the prerogative of the Attorney General. No one can dictate to the Attorney General of state or the federation under which law to try.
Right.
The Attorney General may well try to prosecute them under the penal code laws of Northern Nigeria, or he may prosecute them under the Sharia penal code. It's the prerogative of the Attorney General, and in fact, the Attorney General has the powers under the Constitution. No amount of interest involved. In any case, the Attorney General can even enter prosecute, and no one can question his powers to do so. So these are political and constitutional issues that are best answered by the Attorney General as to why they were not tried in accordance with either Sharia penal code law or the penal code. He has the choice.
Well, Prof, clearly this is an ongoing conversation, and it's important to have them so everybody is able to air their opinions and have a greater nation. But we have to thank you so much, Islamic law expert, Bayero University, Kano, Professor Tahiru Usman John.
Oh yes. In fact, the issue surrounding Nigeria as it is not an easy something that someone will just look and they pass by. Now they are now digging deep down the foundation of this country, and everything is now shaking. Very soon, the empire will fall. Very soon, everything that they used to make mouth will fall, because everybody, all of them in the corners, once you are talking about restructuring Nigeria, arranging Nigeria, retouching Nigeria, they will tell you that Nigeria is sacrosanct, that Nigeria is indivisible. In fact, Nigeria is that and dust. So they talk a lot of things concerning Nigeria because of they know that everything that they use to make this country, it is for their own favor and it is for their own gain. Look at now, there is nothing like Christian law in any states you go in this country. There is nothing. What they used to have is either federal law. Even though the federal law, there's still what they used to do is still Sharia. You know about. And this man, he already explained everything, that the Attorney General can use any law in the country to judge any case he wants to use. Either he can use Sharia or he can use Nigerian law, which even though the Nigerian law is being joined with this same Sharia, everything is being built. So it is not something about where is the evidence or how do you know it. It is very good the way Rerimo came to Nigeria to find out all those things, because the senators, the governor, the House of Rep, we have all of them, they are cowards. They don't know what they are doing. They cannot speak for the people they are representing. What they know is that once they get there, they get their money ending of the month, and they will be silent, even though when the people is crying that they need change. What they don't even think of it. What they used to think about is how they will get power. How they will get power. For you to look the downfall of the nation, what make the nation bleed, why the people are crying, the main thing that makes everybody suffering the way they are suffering today is because of this constitution. You are using constitution that did not work for the certain people, and you are using it for everybody. And people is crying, telling you that enough is enough. They want to change, and you tell them they cannot, and you must, or they must remain in that same thing. That is why Muslim can look onto all those things and say enough is enough. It is a time for the Igbo, for Biafran to leave this nation called Nigeria. So because it is not working for anybody. In the nation that you cannot do anything that will favor you, and for anything that will favor you, they will try to destroy it because of their thinking, because of their mindset. So now, thank God, everything is now opening. This very more journey will believe that it will definitely as in divide the nation. That is all. It will definitely divide this nation because there is no two ways about it. So no matter whatever anybody is doing, because if they tell you that Nigeria is a secular state, so why do you have two constitution in one country? Meaning, if you're having it like that, the Christian will have their own constitution. The way they used to do things, if they commit a crime, they don't used to take the person to any of the courts. They will instantly kill the person that place, and the next thing they will not even repatriate those people that killed the person, or find those people that killed the person, or even prison them, even though they catch anybody. 2-3 days they have already released them. Reason, because they will go down to the Sharia and tell you that it's because of that is insulting their God, their Muhammad. That is the main reason why they kill the person. All those people that have been killing people here and there because of the person speak against their Malam or against their Allah. Have you ever seen anybody, anyone that is in court or that came to court for judgment or that is in prison? Nobody. For you to see that everything they are doing it purposely because of everything they used to make this country is built with Sharia. And Nigeria is, in fact, is Islamic state. But some people that does not have brain, they will still be arguing that Nigeria is not Islamic. It's an Islamic state. This man has already said everything. Then the journalist, in fact, to be asking him question, is afraid because he don't know what next. Some of them used to be afraid to ask them question because as they are now, they are afraid of to speak to them because they believe that if they talk too much, they will come and remove them from the place where they are eating. And that is the main problem of Nigeria. The journalists, they are afraid of to speak. They don't speak the truth. They don't ask them questions they need to ask them. Instead of it, they will be hiding under their shadow. And the end, that thing you are hiding from, that thing will be hindering you and that thing will be killing you. That is the problem of the country. Well, I would like to comment down below what do you think about the whole thing going on in Nigeria. Like, subscribe, and make sure you share it to go around. Let others see the thing that is happening, because this issue of Sharia, we must get to the end of it. And we must see the end of it. In this country, Donald Trump have come, and we believe he must do the needful for the Christian to survive, for people to breathe. That is what we want. And it is now happening. Well, thank you for watching.